Hi, everyone. I'm Lauren Walker, the manager of athlete development here at USA Volleyball. And today I'm privileged to be joined by Brian Hurler, who is our performance analyst for the beach national teams. Today, we're going to be talking a little bit about how athletes who are moving up through the beach game can use performance analytics to benefit their game. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So to get us started a little bit, if I'm a young athlete who's maybe in the NTDP program or entering and growing my beach game, what are some initial analytics that might help in the early development of the game?
Yeah, I think for any young athlete, it starts with setting your standards of what are the things that I want to be doing on the court. And that may be a little bit different for everyone, but I would be looking at where do I want to be serving or where do I want to be passing? What am I trying to do? And I think we can find those objectives through conversations, through watching other teams, through watching older teams, or talking to resources within the NTDP or coaches you might have around you. And then from there, it's just a measure of like, how do I track those things? How do I know I'm getting better? So even if you don't have the most sophisticated analytics on the planet or, tons of AI helping you out, you can easily in practice say like, how often did I hit my pass target? Is that okay? Is it better than last week? Is it better than last month? So I think it's easy to get caught up comparing to other teams, other players, but I think ultimately you can track anything you like and compare to yourself. And am I getting better at that skill is ultimately, I think, the main focus of what we're trying to achieve with analytics in general. So I would start there, and then I think it evolves from there as you get older and get more complex in your game and your skill set.
Yeah, I love the simplicity of just watch a lot of volleyball.
Yeah.
Figure out where you want to be growing and developing and track that specifically. I also love the focus that you just emphasized on compare to yourself. I use the analytics for self-comparison rather than comparing to other duos you might be competing against.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think ultimately the number one thing everyone wants to do is to win and to have fun playing and to improve. And I think that's the best way to use data in that sense. So certainly you can look at other teams, but looking at yourself and how that influences what you practice and how much you practice will be the biggest benefit for any youth athlete who just wants to see what they can do and get better.
So if I'm an athlete, I've stepped on the court saying, hey, I want to work on serving this particular zone on the court a little bit better. How long would you recommend tracking to say, hey, we've really seen some improvement here?
Yeah, I think if I'm practicing 2, 3, 4 times a week, at least a couple weeks to get a sense of, and it doesn't have to be for 2 full hours, just 10 minutes at the start of practice, somewhere in practice where you feel like that fits, and just keep a little tally. Hey, my goal was to hit this spot. I really wanted to work on my line-to-line serve. I saw it in an AVP match. I thought that looked cool. I think it's a tough serve for me to pass, so maybe that's something I want to try to get better at. So I take 10 minutes or I try 10 serves and how many did I hit line to line, and I felt it was fast and aggressive and the type of serve I wanted to try to develop. So maybe after 2 or 3 weeks you hit 4 out of 10, and then 2 more weeks later you're hitting 6 or 7 out of 10. That's a pretty noticeable improvement over just 10 serves. It doesn't require computers or any kind of advanced data. It's something that we can all kind of do, and it's fun too. If you're competing with your partner, competing with other people you practice with, like make it a game. How many can we hit? And like, how does that look over, 2 weeks or a month, and then go from there. And if you're consistently hitting your goal, maybe it's like, hey, we should change this goal. Let's make it a little tougher. Let's make it harder. Or maybe we move on to a different serve at that point. But I think it's kind of all about seeing that improvement and deciding when you're ready to move on.
Absolutely. One of the things that we see is unique to beach compared to indoor is really how much coaching you get versus how much is kind of on you as an athlete and being empowered as an athlete as you move forward in your career. So as you think about trying to focus on specific skills that you want to improve on as an athlete and what that might be in terms of communicating that to a coach, how would you suggest an athlete navigate the relationship of setting some of their own goals versus balancing that with what the coach wants to focus on for development?
Yeah, I think it's good to have those conversations, especially as you're finding your way in your career. What you want may not line up perfectly with what a coach wants, but I think there's ways to incorporate those own things. I think the first thing is just bringing an attitude of positivity and a growth mindset to practice, and then asking your coach, are there ways we can integrate these things into the training that we're already doing? So if we're doing a side out training and I'm maybe serving in that activity to begin with, like, hey, do you mind if I practice my line to line? And just having open communication. I saw it. I really want to do it. I think I can pop it in. We can still do the activity that you want to do as a coach. And then just communicating, like, what do you think that's a valuable thing for me to work on? And I think collecting the opinions and the thoughts of the people around you, the coaches and the other athletes that you work with, will only help well round your own vision of, are my goals correct? Do I want to shift those goals a little bit? Maybe coach has a different vision for me, really wants me to work on passing, and like, hey, I feel really strongly that passing is going to improve your game for these reasons. Well, that's may not be data driven in nature. It's part of helping us identify the things we do want to track. So I think a lot of it comes down to communication, comes down to flexibility, and just communicating, why do I want to work on these things? Listening to your coach, hearing them out, like, why do they want to work on these things? And then coming to some kind of conclusion that you think makes the most sense for your career. But I think no matter what you're spending time on the court, there's ways that we can trickle in or sprinkle in little things that you may personally care about in the drills or the activities that your coaches are already setting up for you, as long as it keeps the activity moving along and isn't super detrimental to the activity in some way.
Yeah, that's great advice, especially for negotiating a relationship with a coach.
Yeah.
You want that reciprocal exchange out on the beach.
Yeah, and that's one of the most beautiful things about beach volleyball. It's very collaborative with coaching, especially at the higher levels. Coaches aren't able to speak as much during matches. So there's this, at the adult level, at the international level, this really collaborative relationship. That's really cool. So I would encourage any youth athlete to engage in that. And any coach I know would love to have an athlete who's super engaged in that as well. So I would say go for it. And I think you'll find, especially for younger athletes, coaches are very receptive to that. And maybe it's not as intimidating of an idea as I may have thought when I was a youth athlete. Now that I'm a coach, I'm like, I would love for a youth athlete to come to me and be like, hey, I really want to work on this. Here's why. I'm like, oh, great, let's do it. Let's find a way to incorporate it into training.
So the last question I have for you here on the athlete side is, if an athlete is moving from indoor to beach, what should they be prepared for in that initial transition?
Yeah, I think a lot more footwork patterns. I think in indoor, we once we're in our position and we're focused on one position, we kind of have our lane that we stay in and like our different skills that we're working on. But when I see indoor athletes transition to beach, especially even at the highest levels, they're being asked to do skills that they're not training as much when they played indoor, or being asked to move in certain ways laterally in their footwork from passing to attacking, or passing to setting, onto the net and off the net, pulling off the net quickly and efficiently. A lot of those footwork patterns are newer to indoor athletes, and there may be some transition or some transfer from indoor, but a lot of it is new. So I think I would prepare that there's going to be probably a bit of thinking, a little bit of challenge to that. Like, it won't be automatic, it won't be autonomous right away. But I think achieving those things, whether you track them or not, you certainly could track footwork patterns. Makes it really rewarding when it starts to click. It's like, oh, I'm really figuring it out. I'm moving faster. I'm connecting with the ball better. So that is a learning curve with beach, but at the end of that learning curve, I would say lies a really satisfying reward with a fluidity and a movement and a control of the game that you may not always experience in indoor, being one of six versus being one of two. More pressure, more responsibility, more mental engagement from beginning to end of the rally, but more reward and more fun, I would say, and more control in that rally.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us today to share some of your insight, Brian.
Yeah, happy to do it.